So the cars on the formation lap now for the final race of the day. It is the JustMotorsportAds.com Track Attack Race Club Nippon Challenge Tricolore Trophy and Multi-Mark Challenge, and looking forward to more of the same from what we had earlier. Russell Hockley was able, or rather Richard Hockley was able to run away with it. Chris Barrett was saying that he was disappointed with his start, and he thinks he can make some good ground off the line this time around if he anticipates the getaway well enough.
Well, if you look at the front of his car, it's got a very wide track Peugeot 205 with very wide front tyres, so I'd be surprised if he couldn't get a good start from a car like that. Of course, it's a very rapid little Peugeot, rapid little pug, and of course starting from the second row of the grid, of course behind Richard Hockley. If Hockley gets a good getaway, he might possibly, some of the rubber that gets laid down there as a result might give a tiny bit of extra grip to help him scrabble away from the line and overhaul the Russell Thompson.
It is Russell Thompson.
Russell Thompson, Renault Clio, that starts on the front row of the grid. Also, one car I think we have to watch out for a little bit, maybe as well, is maybe keep an eye for the car that's going to start in sixth position, which is one of the two Super GT cars, which is the Mazda RX-8 of Racing Beat Europe's Clive Haynsford, painted, of course, in corporate colours. So that car is a spectacular looking and sounding car. Of course, you can't beat a bit of Mazda rotary power and noise, and he's surrounded by hatchbacks though, plenty of Clios and a couple of Honda Civics to boot, so they all form up on the grid ready to go one by one. Also, cars to watch are possibly the little Proton Satria, which is in 10th place on the grid, and that of course is being driven by
Daniel Adams.
Daniel Adams, yes. Coming up, some great looking cars, the Tom Wood GT86, the Paul Buckmaster Mazda RX, more Honda Civics, and also our contingent from the 206 GTI Cup as well. Some great looking turning out cars, and another great way to race on a budget with the Track Attack Race Club. Another great invention from their coordinator Steve Vince. So
last few cars about to come into position. It's going to be a 15-minute race rather, to bring the weekend to a close here. 21 races we have crammed in as we get the green flag signalled from the rear of the field. The red light's on now, and out they go, and it is a good start from Chris Bassett, but he's being out-dragged a little bit by the fast-starting Clios, and Russell Thompson is potentially going to lead into Paddock Hill Bend for the first time, although Richard Hockley tries to dispute it to the inside. Through they all go. They just about make it through. As they... No, they don't.
There's a spinner because Alexander Owen in that Honda Civic's gone for another pirouette, which is exactly he did this morning in qualifying, albeit he does it a little bit earlier in the lap, which is down at the bottom of Paddock Hill Bend. They're all trying to sort themselves out through the top of the hill at Druids. They somehow make their way through, and somehow nobody hit Alexander Owen, which is pretty much a miracle, but given how many cars are in the order. He's down last at the bottom of the field, but he'll charge his way back through the tail end of the 206 GTIs as quickly as possible. But it is Richard Hockley who leads the way up through clearways and into McLaren for the first time, and that battle that was going on before between the two white Renault Clios and the dark blue Peugeot 205 is going on again, because now we've got side-by-side action for third. Tony Hunter in the white number 1 Clio is on the inside line. On the outside, Chris Bassett in that rapid little Peugeot 205 is going for the outside line. Hunter's got his nose in front as they go across the timing line into Paddock Hill Bend, and also watch behind them as well. Coming up behind them quickly is the multicoloured RX-8, the Super GT car of Clive Haynsford. He's up to P5 and having a superb run.
He certainly is, as Haynsford is looking to make the move, and he's going to sneak past Tony Hunter and up into 4th place. So this is a slightly different complexion on the race that we had earlier on, which is Richard Hockley leads the way, Russell Thompson second, the white Clio car 15, third is number 33 Chris Bassett in the 205, and then we have got the Mazda of Clive Haynsford, which is very distinctively liveried, and then we have got number 1 Tony Hunter, who's busy having a good scrap with the bright red Clio, number 14 of Nick Gwinnett, who proves that you've got to be Gwinnett to win it, as he's up there at the front of the field. As across the line it comes Richard Hockley, completes the second lap of the race. Now, one of the characteristic scores we had earlier on was that they got in amongst the traffic as Clive Haynsford was drawing alongside Chris Bassett then as they came towards Paddock Hill Bend, and this is going to be this is what I love about multi-class, multi-mark racing. You get these David versus Goliath type battles.
Yeah. It takes you back to some of the saloon car racing of the 60s and 70s when it used to be sort of the big sort of Mustangs and Camaros versus little Minis and Lotus Cortinas. It's a similar sort of ethos in terms of the bigger engine cars like the Mazdas and the sort of more powerful Hondas against the little sort of Clios and Peugeot 205s running rings around the smaller car, bigger cars and clumsier cars in the corners. But even so, at the moment, Clive Haynsford is holding his own in the Mazda RX-8. He's trying to close in on the flame-spitting Peugeot 205 of Chris Bassett. Always great to see a car spitting flame from the exhaust, and Chris Bassett is no exception to come back across the line. I have to say also on this time around, actually, Ben, this second time around, Richard Hockley's not big enough to get away with this race as quick as possible. Actually, Russell Thompson is actually staying with him and going quicker as he sets the fastest lap of the race at the end of lap 3.
Yeah, this could be quite an intriguing scrap for the victory. They're probably about a lap and a half away from getting in amongst some of the Peugeot 206s a little bit lower down the order. Also on that last lap, Chris Bassett did a pretty good job of easing clear of Clive Haynsford as the fight for the lead really comes together as they come through Graham Hill Bend, and the pugilistic, or the little Renault, really fancies its chances. It's the pugilistic Peugeot in third place of Chris Bassett. It's the relentless Renault of Russell Thompson in second, because he's right there with Richard Hockley as they come out of Clark Curve.
And we call it the malicious Mazda as well in fourth place. But anyway, another car I'm watching just in the background as it comes through the field is also the car which did a pretty good job of qualifying initially before, but it had to start, I think, towards the rear of the field.
Dear.
And there's a car on its roof at the bottom of the hill at Paddock Hill Bend in the gravel trap. Now that's double wave. Is that going to be a red flag, I wonder, because that's going to take more than probably a safety car period to get that car.
Yes,
red flag's been thrown. So they will put a halt on proceedings whilst they get that car out. Now again, we have to play the game which is spot the car that tumbles down the timing screen, although it might be a bit tricky at this point in time. I've only had a pair of binoculars to try and find out. In terms of what shape that car is, I'm trying to think, is it possibly Renault Clio shaped? I think possibly. It's one of the Renault Clios that's going down.
Well, the good news is that the driver has got out of the car under their own steam and run away to a place of safety. The other good news is that we're half an hour clear on curfew here, so they have got the time to stop the race and restart it. As Richard Hockley leads them on their way on this final formation lap. And it was a real pity when the red flag came out, because the race was just coming together really, really nicely, and we hope that Russell Thompson can take that fight to Richard Hockley again when the race does resume.
Yeah, fingers crossed. He certainly was showing a lot more pace, which was enabling him to keep up with Richard Hockley's Honda Civic than he potentially may have done in race 1, particularly due to the fact that he was so preoccupied battling with Chris Bassett and Tony Hunter that he probably didn't get a proper chance to pull away and move forwards, because Chris was always catching up in the corners and mounting an attack. But of course, as we know, Russell Thompson's car was a little bit quicker in a straight line than the Peugeot, and he was always able to pull away, even though initially on the corner exit and also through mid-corner at least, the traction that Chris Bassett's Peugeot had quite a wide track front end with very large sticky front tyres, meant that he had good grip and traction off the corner at least. But in terms of the actual top end speed down the straight, the white Clio of Russell Thompson was much quicker and was able to hold him off. So any advantage which he gained at the beginning of the corner, by the end of it and onto the straight, it had almost been pretty much sort of null and voided by the sheer pace of the first of the two Renault Clios in the order.
So the front of the field coming towards the end of the formation lap, the back of the field only just down to Graham Hill Bend, so the grid will take a couple of moments to form up. And again, another chance for Chris Bassett to launch the diminutive Peugeot 205 off the second row of the grid, as he'd been hoping to do first time around. It's another opportunity for Russell Thompson to take the fight to Hockley's. Also a chance as well for Clive Haynsford in the Mazda, who's been steadily moving up the order throughout the course of the day to challenge for the podium.
And as British Touring Cars tells us, the rear-wheel drive cars tend to get off the line better than the front-wheel drive cars do, and he made a very good start from where he was on the grid for this second race. So, being that far up on the second row of the grid, if Russell Thompson leaves that space on the inside and he can aim that Mazda down the outside potentially, it's not impossible to see him possibly challenging for the lead down into Paddock Hill Bend in a few moments' time.
And he's also got that slightly flatter section of the track to launch from as well.
Absolutely.
So the last row is in position. We get the green flag waved at the rear of the pack, and for the final time today, hopefully the red lights come on and flash out, and away we go. And exactly as you called it, Scott, it's a very good start from Clive Haynsford, who's going to rocket through and comfortably lead as they arrive in towards Paddock Hill Bend. With into second position Russell Thompson, third place is Richard Hockley, fourth is Chris Bassett. The front of the field is all safely through. The second half of the field is all safely through as well as they head up to Druids.
So I don't often to get things right, but I called that one just about right, I think, by good fortune as we head into Druids and out of it once again. So Clive Haynsford then gets the initial advantage off the line. The question now is Chris Bassett, that's important. Chris Bassett has shot down the inside of Richard Hockley and taken third place. He's immediately got his tail up and he wants to go after Russell Thompson, but all of them are trying to chase the rotary Mazda of Clive Haynsford as they pour their way out of Graham Hill Bend up towards Surtees. So the brightly coloured Mazda holding its own advantage ahead of Russell Thompson. And Chris Bassett, again, as we saw, he's got good traction off the corner, but the top end of that red clear in front of him is more substantial, means he can't take advantage of that. And now here comes the Honda of Richard Hockley on the outside, side by side with the Peugeot as Haynsford leads the race. Hockley will go to the outside under brakes, and I don't think the brake lights are working, Chris Bassett's car, but if they're not, effectively it shows that he's pretty effective under brakes at least. Tony Hunter, in fact, as well, is going to close in now for fourth place.
And the fight at the front of the field is coming together as well, because Russell Thompson through the corners, just left a door slightly ajar, and Richard Hockley was looking to the inside of the Renault, couldn't quite pull the move off. And this is a fascinating scrap because the Mazda is not so quick through the corners, but then can streak away a little bit on the straights, and that is going to be very important once they get in and amongst a little bit of the traffic. Oh, more problems as well, I fear, for the car of David Clark, the Renault 5, a little bit slow out of Graham Hill Bend. He's got up to speed now, so I hope that was just a misgear. As now, Richard Hockley in challenging for second position. He runs alongside Russell Thompson in the Renault Clio as the pair of them head down towards Paddock Hill Bend. Also a challenge from Tony Hunter to the inside of Chris Bassett. And Hockley appears to make that move stick. And
Nick Gwinnett's not too far away either in the red Renault Clio, number 14, towards the back of that 5-car scrap. Clive Haynsford meanwhile is holding station as Chris Bassett shoots up the inside of Russell Thompson. He was looking for exactly the opportunity. Thompson's got better grip on the outside to get the traction off the corner. Now it puts Bassett in a position that he's going to be under attack from Tony Hunter. It's opposite, and also Thompson goes wide again off the corner in Graham Hill Bend, so maybe he's a little bit sort of getting ragged on the edge here, trying to defend his position as Hockley goes after Haynsford as his RX-8 spits flame through Surtees. So two of the fastest cars in the field then into the right-hander. Another big jump of flame from the exhaust from the Mazda as they head out of clearways. This is a fascinating battle between the five of them. Basically very different cars, but all of them very evenly matched.
They really are, and for Chris Bassett, it's just trying to do what he can in the corners as again Tony Hunter draws along. Oh, and the boot of the Peugeot starts to come on ajar a little bit under braking. Well, yeah, definitely it's the right hand side of the boot that's just knocked a little bit ajar. Hopefully that's not going to incur a trip to the pits to get that rectified. As down towards Graham Hill Bend, the race leader still the Mazda of Clive Haynsford, under real pressure from the Honda of Richard Hockley. Then we've got Russell Thompson in third. In fourth position it is Chris Bassett, and in fifth, number 1, Tony Hunter.
And also now in P6 closing up is now Nick Gwinnett in the red Clio. So the hot hatches really are giving the big Mazda sort of a lot to think about here as they come into clearways and then through McLaren. Hockley's going to try and draw alongside if he can, but the turbo in that Mazda is kicking in at just the right moment down the straight. Takes the wider arc down the pit straight, and look at the straight line speed the Mazda's found now. Look at that down the straight, another spit of flame as he comes into the complex. And Chris Bassett's car found some more aerodynamics down. The boot has gone straight up. He's holding on at that one, but I was fearing that possibly the stewards may not look at that one too amusingly, and possibly might even give him a black and orange flag to get that sorted, which is a shame because he's up there in fourth place. But it may possibly be deemed as something he has to sort out before the race is done.
That is a very clever quick release rear spoiler, isn't it? If he gets that working properly, he'll have some lovely rear downforce applied to the car, but in all seriousness, that is likely to earn him the black and orange mechanical black flag. And whether or not he's actually aware that well, he probably will, because the car's suddenly got a lot noisier.
And a lot draftier as well, possibly.
That too, but he's going to press on until somebody tells him he can't. And there hasn't been a change to the order, because it's still Clive Haynsford who is there ahead of 111 Richard Hockley, then it's number 15 Russell Thompson, and 33 Chris Bassett, who is under pressure from the number 1 car, Tony Hunter, into Paddock Hill Bend, and if Hunter had got any closer, it actually have ended up in the rear seats of Bassett's Peugeot, as they have also been joined by Nick Gwinnett as well. So these 6 cars really having a close tussle. No sign the black and orange flag is going to go out just yet for Chris Bassett.
But they head down towards Surtees then. Still Haynsford from Hockley, and then from Thompson, the also say bewinged now, sort of temporary aerodynamically enhanced Chris Bassett, who is again, he's got the great traction off the corner, but again, watch the third car in the train, and the lead cars, Russell Thompson, the amount of straight line speed he has off the corner once he gets wound up is right there to close him with Richard Hockley as they come into the back Marques and amongst some of the 206s. Oh, and Clive gets held up, and this is going to really compromise him here on the exit. He goes either side, they're going either side again of the back Marques up towards Drew. It's not the first time drivers have done that this year. It was all Russell Thompson locks up and almost hits the back of Richard Hockley's car. It's a brilliant race, and there's only 4 minutes left to go. Can we possibly extend the curfew by what, another 15 minutes or so to let this race keep on going? Because it's absolutely superb.
This is absolutely lovely. The rear of Chris Bassett's car has
it's slammed shut again.
Has it? Yeah, it's of a form anyway, as he is always left himself a little bit of space to be challenged by Tony Hunter to the inside as they go through Clark Curve, and Bassett is losing out in track position this time round and might get shuffled down the order as across line the race leader, the multicoloured master of Clive Haynsford, leads the leading group of cars. They're all together, and this is one of the best races we've had so far this weekend as they turn down through Paddock Hill Bend. They've got a little bit more traffic to contend with, 3¼ minutes remaining in the race, and they all close up behind the 206s through Druids. It all gets a little bit congested, and the leading duo have cleared that first car and a second one as they head towards Graham Hill Bend. It's going to be very, very tight. They're all just about squeezing through.
So Chris Bassett was really on the back of Russell Thompson's car on the exit of that corner as they went past one of the 206 GTI Cup cars, and there's a multitude of traffic they're going to try and get through now. The next car they're going to try and negotiate is the MR2, and then there is a whole host of these 206 GTI Cup cars, 4 of them in fact, to try and work their way past. Haynsford sweeps wide to take the wider line down the pit straight to get past the MR2. Now he's going to tackle the quartet of 206s. Hockley gets past the MR2. Russell Thompson gets a little bit bulk. That put him under massive pressure, possibly for Chris Bassett. He's got a good run off the corner again, and again he's possibly going to the inside. If Russell Thompson's not careful, he switches to the inside again. Bassett goes to the outside.
Contact at Paddock Hill Bend. It was Daniel Adams who got barged aside, was trying to shut the door, and it looked for a moment as if he was going to be fired into the gravel trap. But we've got the leading duo now distinct for this fight for third position, just really as a function of where they've caught the traffic.
I've just seen the biggest bit of flame for the back of the RX-8. It's one of the great sights, particularly as the light is starting to fade here at Brands Hatch and it gets the lighter evenings. A big shot of flame for the back of Clive Haynsford's car. It's brilliant. It's a turbocharged, I think it's 1.3 litre turbocharged Mazda RX-8, so a rotary engine. As we come down the pit straight again, we've got 1 minute and 39 left to go on the clock. Probably time for probably 2 more laps. Fastest lap of the race did go to Haynsford. Immediately gets duped by several thousandths of a second by Hockley. So it's keeping pretty open at this point in time. Meanwhile, it's closing up again. Oh, and Chris Bassett gets held up by one of the 206s. He's trying to lap that, but gives the advantage to Tony Hunter and to Russell Thompson as he tries to draw away in these closing stages of the race. Headlights ablaze through many of these cars here, including the RX-8, who's then trying to close up now to the little Citroen Saxo, which is being piloted, if I quickly have a look, by it's either Gerard Merriman or Paul Keynes, one of the two, as he turns his way through.
Not sure Gerard Merriman made it out for this race.
So it's possibly Keynes then he's got through on that one.
As Richard Hockley coming back towards Clive Haynsford, but this is going to be the final lap of the race. We've lost one car down towards Graham Hill Bend as they cross the line. Less than a lap time in the race, and as Richard Hockley got the chance, is he going to be able to make it 2 from 2? At the moment, Clive Haynsford seems to have it all more or less in hand, and they're going to have a final lap without the encumbrance of any traffic. So it's going to come down to a pure shootout again between this top 5 to decide which 3 drivers are going to get onto the rostrum. got the abandoned Clio, I think, on the way through Graham Hill Bend. And Richard Hockley, he's right with Clive Haynsford, heading towards 30s for the last time.
So here we go then, one more time with feeling into the left-hander. Hockley's getting pretty close, but I'm not sure he's going to have any opportunity. Likewise, possibly with Bassett and Hunter. And Hockley is getting pretty close. He's right there, but he's made a mistake. He's up the inside, possibly as they make a drag race down towards the checkered flag. But I think possibly the RX-8 will have just about enough power to win the sprint towards the line and the flag. Clive Haynsford takes the checkered flag in the RX-8. Hockley second, it is Thompson third, and Chris Bassett just holds off Tony Hunter in genuinely one of the best races I've seen for a while. Not just this weekend. 5 different cars, all choose different specifications, and they all finished within 2.7 seconds of each other after a superb battle between the 5 of them. Utter joy to commentate and watch. That was a superb race. And if you're on the banks and watching, give them a round of applause and give them a clap. That was superb racing to finish off the season opening weekend for the British Racing and Sports Car Club at Brands Hatch. Utterly joyful to watch and to commentate on. Brilliant.
We may or may not have time for the podium because they've got 7 minutes to get themselves there. So we will, if we do get in the podium, it will be a bonus. If not, just to say, as ever, as the last couple of cars flash across the line, a huge thank you to all the marshals here this weekend at Brands Hatch.